Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the allegations that are thrown around to demonstrate, as the activists would believe, have us believe, to demonstrate that black people are being oppressed, held back, receive far fewer opportunities. The victims of the most horrific racism and so on. Now, only an activist would sort of believe that, but the key to it all, and what they deem as concrete proof, is, well, more white people graduate from high school than black kids. More young whites graduate from college and university than black kids on a relative percentage basis, and more black people are in prison than white people on again, relative to the population percentages. So this is proof, this is concrete, absolute concrete proof that we have a racist system. And I've looked at a number of sort of town hall meetings that the likes of the Ben Shapiros and Charlie Kirks, Dinesh D'Souza and others have. And students, activist students, don't turn up to these things to listen or to be informed or to debate. They come to push back against the fucking Nazis. The Nazis. That's what they're there to push back, and they believe it. It's self-evident. And I'm thinking of one young woman now. A gender studies student, no surprise, and she lesbian, and she says, look, 52% of the people in prison in the United States, or it might have been that state, I think it was the United States she was talking about, 52% are black, but blacks only make up 12 or 13% of the population. Therefore, this is proof that there must be a racist system. What else can it be? Because everyone is equal. Everyone is equal. Therefore, everyone commits crime on an equal rate. Every person commits the same number of crimes because we're all the same. We're all the same, And therefore, if there's a difference in outcome because we're all the same, and because crimes are committed equally across the entire population, if the outcomes are different, as in the amount of people who are incarcerated, then that is proof, absolute concrete proof of a fascist, Nazi, racist, bigoted Hitler system. That's the proof. You don't need anything else. That's it. Nothing to talk about there. But wait a minute. What about black people committing more crimes than other races, other than white people, for example? Could that be the reason why? No. And even if it were, the only reason they do that is because of slavery. So still the white people are the racist, bigoted, Nazi, fascist. Either way, it doesn't matter how you go. So no matter how you sort of look at it from their point of view, from the ideological fanatics' point of view, and you can see this young woman was, she's probably 19 or 20, I guess, but you see this girl was deeply emotionally committed to this position, deeply committed to it, and wouldn't accept any other explanation. Admit you are a damn fascist, Nazi, racist, you damn fucking white supremacist. That was the only outcome that was satisfactory in her perspective. And if you don't agree with that the system is fascist, Nazi, bigot, racist, white supremacist, if you don't agree with that, then you are a fascist, Nazi, bigot, white supremacist. So, it just goes around in the same loop. Now, when it comes to education, and the opportunities that come from it, again, the starting basis is flawed. But what I want to talk about here in particular is how the activists, they get multiple bites at the one apple as it starts out, as it starts its journey. And I'll use education to illustrate the point here. So there's a difference in outcomes with black kids, again, coming out of high school and graduating in college and all that sort of stuff. So that difference must be down to racism, bigotry, Nazism, fascism, Hitler, and so on. It can't be anything else. It must be that, because black kids are just as bright, more or less clever than white kids or Asian kids or Hispanic kids, whatever. So therefore, if there is a difference in outcome, it must be due to racism. What else can it be? So as the black kids go through the journey, though, through the education system, what we'll do is we'll rectify the problem of black kids getting into senior high school and into college. We'll just graduate them no matter what into senior high school. I mean, we won't test them, we won't judge them or measure them. We'll just wave them through. Then when they're in senior high school, we'll wave them through again into college, university, and so on. And then once they're there, we'll just gift them degrees and gift them, any diplomas or anything they want, and we just gift it to them. And that will create an equal society, because if everyone's got a PhD, then everyone's equal. So the idea of earning something is a concept that, and I'll do another video on this, is a concept that bureaucrats, particularly government-employed bureaucrats and public servants, don't understand. It's just not a concept they can easily grasp. And I've spoken to a lot of them about it, and I get these blank stares in return. Now, they've lived in a world of employment and so on where your ideological attitude may be what'll get you the job. You sit at the interview, I hate all white people, I hate white society, straight white males are evil, Hitler is everywhere. Baby, you've got the job. So ideologically, you need to have the right sort of thinking to get into a lot of these jobs. But from then on, it's patronage. Patronage decides the promotions you get and the pay rises, the overseas trips you go on, the study tours to exotic locations. Patronage decides everything. So the idea of merit and having to do a job and do it well and achieve something productive is a concept that they just have no idea. It's as foreign to them as jumping out of a plane without a parachute and landing quietly on your feet. They've just got no idea of it. They just can't comprehend it. Patronage decides everything. They see it all around them. It's patronage that decides how well they do and the gigs they get. And now, performance in, say, how vehemently you hate white people, that may get you a promotion. But in terms of productive, as in creating and building something and having done so on merit, and that is to the benefit of others around you, the organization, and so on. That's not how goals and objectives in the public service or the NGOs or any of these ideological, fanatical organizations. That's not how it's decided. It's patronage is decided. So, and I've talked to public pleasant enough people, but I've talked to public servants about this, pointing out that in the private sector, although the sector is shrinking rapidly these days, but in the private sector, promotions and rewards and pay are not always. I mean, you still get patronage, for goodness sakes. The chairman's still only always going to put his useless dickhead nephew in a good job. But aside from that, there's not many people at that chairman level who can do those sorts of things. There's only ever a small number of those sort of people that do it. Whereas, there are gazillions of ideological fanatics doing favors for their buddies and their hangers-on and their flunkies and so on. So there's a vastly different structure there. But when I explain about how going places and getting the promotions and the pay rises is down to merit, it's what you achieve. And I use example, the clearest, sort of simplest to understand example is, say, a sales representative that makes their meets all their sales budgets and sales targets and and how many widgets they sell, that sort of stuff, and that those people can receive additional bonuses, commissions on sales and so on. So that's again probably the simplest, straightforward example of how hard work can put more money in your pocket. There are other things like, say, guys that stoke blast furnaces in some of the mines, some of the steel works and smelting works. The guys operating those cranes to swing the coal or whatever it is they're burning into the furnaces they're often paid bonuses, because if the the pressure drops below a certain level, or the fire goes out, it's quite an expensive business to start. So they get bonuses provided they work their ass off and get the coal in there. So there are, but trying to explain this to a public servant, they just sit there slack jawed, blank looking. They can't even comprehend that world. All they understand is patronage. So if you've got a good income or a high income, then you've got powerful friends gifting you jobs and gifting you, cozy gigs and that sort of stuff. It can only be that. And they don't understand anything outside of that. Now, that mentality feeds back into how they view the difference in outcomes in between black and white. Then it must be that the blacks just don't have enough patronage. They don't have enough goodies being thrown at them, whereas the white people are, the white privilege thing, the white people are, and they have all the benefits of all that patronage and all those handouts and all those gifts that they're given, and that's why they're doing better. But wait a minute, stop. So maybe they're doing better because they study harder, because they work harder, and they apply themselves more diligently. No. That world is a fantasy that the white people just make up as a cover story for their evil fascist deceit. There's no such thing as merit and hard work and play. Everyone's the same. So if the black guys aren't coming out equally with the white guys, it's just because the patronage system isn't looking after them. That white supremacist, white privilege patronage is looking after the white people. And that's why the white people are doing better in school than the blacks. There's no other reason. That's it. And if you say different, you are a fucking Nazi. So this ability to comprehend the merit system is also very much part of the problem here. So anyway, they've waved the black kids into senior high school and through into university, but they've waved in some, some of these universities are Ivy League, for goodness sakes. They waved in low IQ, black kids who are, the idea of university is to select the brightest kids. And then, in amongst white kids, there are kids that are really bright and not so bright, and maybe low IQ. I mean, even among white kids, that's how it is. Or any group of people, that's how it is. But there's a primarily a merit system, or more, especially if it's white males, a merit system that applies for getting into college there, so that the proportion of smart, high IQ white kids is relatively high compared to all other groups, other than maybe Asians and that sort of thing, but relatively high. So low IQ black kids are being waved through, low IQ women are being waved through, all for this social equity stuff. So that still the white guys are doing better than the other groups. Now, this therefore means that the activists, the ideological activists, can then say, aha, there you go. There's the proof of the racism. See, those white kids are doing better than the other groups. That's because it's a racist, misogynist, fascist, Nazi, Hitler system, because those white kids are doing better. No, it's not that. It's a merit. It's the brightest white kids are getting through, whereas you're waving through low IQ people in the other areas just to make up the numbers. That's the difference. But they won't have it. They won't accept that. So they then get another bite at the apple to say, well, the admission system is racist, and the way the testing, the exams and all that thing, that's racist because there's a difference in outcome. They won't accept that low IQ minorities are being waved through. They still want the equal outcome, even at this point, so they can still insist that it's racist. So then they fudge the tests and give another 25 or 35 or even higher 50% boost to the minorities to get them, more or less equal with the white students, the higher IQ white students. But it's still not enough. Well, it's because the black kids don't feel comfortable because not enough other black kids in the class. There's still a majority of white kids, which is still, again, white supremacy, Nazi, fascist, Hitler. So we have to put more low IQ black kids in there. So there's equal numbers of black and white. And then we move, towards equality. So they keep on biting at it. And so they're getting several bites on the way through. And each time there isn't an exactly equal outcome. At each step, they're demanding or asserting and insisting that it must be down to racism. But no one's pushing back against this. No one's saying, well, what a load of crap. And no one's addressing this. coming back to say the first step is, and in England, where there's not the baggage of slavery, or Germany for that matter, or anywhere in West, there's not that same baggage of slavery, as in slaves weren't brought to England. They're all people that arrived of their own volition, black people who arrived of their own volition, whether it be from Africa or say the West Indies, the Caribbean and so on. They've arrived in England. Now the differences there aren't as great. They're not dissimilar overall, but they're not as great as they are in the United States. But the difference isn't substantial, suggesting that whether black people are brought as slaves or whether black people are arriving of their own volition, the differences between the two groups aren't really that much. Nonetheless, there's not as much difference in the United Kingdom between, say, black and white educational outcomes, but there is nonetheless difference. Now they talk a lot about the difference really is the academic ability between the groups, the racial groups is exactly the same, no difference at all, exactly the same. People are all the same, so they're using the same ideological underpinning. But if the outcomes are different, then it must be due to racism. So they get these activist groups, these fanatical NGO, ideologues, doctrinaire ideologues, that will come out with 99.9% of all black students in school have suffered racism by those damn fascist Nazi white people, which is of course absurd, utterly absurd, complete fabrication. But it's enough to get the politicians screaming and jumping up and down. Oh, equality, equity. But there's a lot of talk in the US and the UK about opportunity, that as black kids come from poorer households where the parents may not have anything other than, say, a junior high school education, that this therefore the kids lack role models in their own homes. So there's a lot of single mothers, which means there's not the parents don't have the single parent doesn't have the same time to dedicate to the children, and so on and so forth. So they're saying lack of opportunity. So if we just say that blacks don't have as much opportunity, and if we gift them senior high school graduation and college graduation and a college degree, then we've created this equal world, this fantasia, this social nirvana that's going to change everything. But of course it doesn't. Now, I've hired black people in the past, and I'm just thinking of one guy here. He had two college degrees. Now they're affirmative action degrees, so we need to put some perspective on that. But it didn't make a whit of difference. Maybe the guy's a little bit better spoken and that sort of stuff. But he wasn't even as bright as white kids at this, or white people. They weren't children at that point. But what white people in there who had a junior high school education themselves, they were still brighter, more willing to apply themselves, keener to work hard and get the job done. And as much as and he was think of this guy, he's quite a nice guy, I guess, but his dissolute, self-destructive behaviour, continual bad life decisions that he was making again and again, and it held him back to but he still had that basic black communal outlook, being, why should I have to work? Because there's so much bounty around me, and I'm now part of your tribe. I'm therefore entitled to all the bounty that you white people have. You are obligated to share it with me. Why won't you? You're racist because you won't give it to me. And again, this concept of merit is not understood. This concept of working for a living, doing well, working hard, and being prudent with your money and not making destructive life decisions, and so on. Why do I have to worry about that? I do things that make me feel good. Why am I not allowed to do that? Why can't I do that? If I want more, then you should give it to me. Share it with me. You have a lot, so share it with me. Why won't you? So this attitude sort of was running in background. And when I'd say, look, I'm getting asked a lot of questions by people in the firm, company. Why are we keeping you on? You really got to do something here, buddy. Otherwise, I'm going to come under too much pressure, and I'm just going to have to let you go. I'm paraphrasing. I didn't have that conversation directly with him, but that was the sort of situation he was coming to. The guy wouldn't fucking work to save his life, and so in a merit system where you have to work and do as you're directed and so on. He just wasn't fitting in. But on paper, he graduated from high school and had two university degrees. But in reality, he might as well have dropped out. He might as well have dropped out of junior high school without even graduating out of junior high school. It was that bad in my view, at least. So coming back to this idea, I think there are a few issues to look at. One is this absurd, ridiculous notion that the difference in outcomes must mean bad things happen. Racism and fascism, white supremacy, and all that sort of stuff. And it doesn't. That's just ridiculous. Lack of opportunity, I do concede that. I think in any poor household, lack of opportunity is, and especially where the parents drop junior high school dropouts, I do think that is a disadvantage. But the way to address that, regardless of the group somebody comes from, whether it's black kids, white kids, any kids, doesn't matter. If they have that disadvantage, then things like scholarships should be available for bright kids. Also, there should be after school free tuition classes for disadvantaged kids, so they can get that extra help. There should be maybe allowances for school books and any or education materials, a laptop or something. There should be help. I think for all disadvantaged kids, not just black kids, but for all that. Now, scholarships are important because there are still bright kids amongst disadvantaged homes. And I think scholarships are very important there, and I think they should be any bright kid who's really showing promise, not someone who's just got because they're a black lesbian. I don't mean that, but someone who's really showing academic promise, that they should be, in my view, they should be entitled to a scholarship and additional assistance and help, simply because of their lack of resources at home. I remember this kid at school who was a single mother, and there weren't many of the single mothers around in those days. There was some, but not many. And the mother was a drunkard and used to blow the child support on booze and so on. But he was a bright kid, and he got no encouragement or support at home. But he was a bright kid, and I'm pretty sure he got a scholarship. I think the teachers noticed his academic promise, and he got a scholarship and ended up doing quite well, as I recall. I haven't seen him for years, but last time I heard, he was doing pretty good. So that was a case there, someone from a disadvantaged thing. So I think these things should be available, but we need to understand that if outcomes are different, it has nothing to do with racism at all, fascism, or any stupid, silly notions of white supremacy or white privilege. That's absurd. And the second thing is, given the bureaucrats and the ideological fanatics and those sort of people, they have no concept of what merit means. So their thinking just can't compute it, so they don't apply it. And so this idea of providing out-of-school classes and support, additional resources, educational support for black kids or disadvantaged kids generally, but black kids seems to get them going the most. Then they can't see how hard work and doing the study and hitting the books and all that sort of stuff will make a difference. And that's where they should be putting their effort, trying to say, well, if that's the white standard, if that's the average that the white kids are doing, let's get you up to that standard. What must we do to get you up to that standard organically and naturally? And maybe the black kid doesn't want to hit the books. You can shove the books up your ass. I'm not interested. And that's as much as you can do. But there will be some that are prepared to put in that extra time and effort, and they should be fully supported in their endeavors. Does it mean there'll be fewer black kids in college? Yes, it does. But the ones that are there will be able to compete at the same level with the white kids or Asian kids or any kids, that are in their group. And that's the most important, because when you put low IQ black kids in with smart white kids, the black kids are feel inadequate. Within seconds of walking in the door, they know, oh, holy shit, I can't play in this league. And they resent it. And they, instead of realizing they're just pawns in an ideological, silly political game, They instead turn around, because they're low IQ, they turn around and say racism, fascism is white supremacy. So when we come, if we're prepared to deal with these issues, I think a difference can be made. Will it be a quick enough and pronounced enough for the ideological fanatics and the doctrinaire goons? Probably not, but it'll still be a step forward, and it'll be natural and organic. And it'll be selecting kids with real ability and supporting them rather than just waving kids through because they're black. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.